Sir?
The year was 1935, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. But guess what was going on? Riots in Harlem. Social Security Acts became a law. The Great Dust Bowl down in New Mexico, and a legend was born. We're going to act like that came on. So, does anyone know that's Elvis Presley? That's who we're talking about today. Elvis Presley was a man we all acknowledge in history, but we don't take time to really know about him. Elvis Presley was one of the most pivotal performing artists of his time. Without Primable, the three-piece band cuts loose in the spotlight, the lanky singer flails furious rhythms on his guitar, every now and then breaking a string in a pivoting stance. His hips swing sensually from side to side. His entire body takes on a frantic quiver as if he had swallowed a jackhammer. Time magazine. Allow me to talk to you about the beginning, middle, and end of Elvis Presley's life. He was born in Tupelo, Mississippi, and around that time, his parents really didn't have good finances. They were always from one place to the next. There was never any solidarity in his household. The only solidarity he has had was his love with God, his love for music, and the love of his parents. Growing up, he played the guitar at the age of 10. He went out to the movie theater to be the ushers. And he played football, and he just enjoyed himself as a teenager. But in spite of him trying to enjoy his teenage livelihood, there was always some haters around, hating on his hair, hating on how the way he was just so different. And in spite of his challenge of sincere life, he continued to focus on his dream of being a performing artist. After a great amount of education in the field of music, Elvis' career took off. A man by the name of Sam Phillips, the label owner of Sun Studio, heard Elvis Presley's $4 two-track demo, and he automatically got him on the label. His first #1 hit was called That's All Right, Mama. Any of y'all know anything about that? You hit me about 3 times. That's him as a baby, and here is him as a teenager. He had a different style of performing arts. He would gyrate his hips, he'd shake his leg, and he'd fall on the floor to his knees, and all the women would scream and say, "Ah!" Elvis Presley grew fast, and he grew strong. And eventually he had to get new management. And this new manager had a bigger dream for him. He got him into movies. He got him on television shows, including the very famous Ed Sullivan Show, if you remember anyone. I don't know. But his first movie was Love Me Tender. There's a picture of it right there. Howard Thompson says, as the lad himself might say, cut my legs off and call me shorty. Elvis Presley can act. That boy can act. In spite of all of the things that came against him, including going off to the army, he always found a way to keep himself going. He always found a way to keep his fans loving him. When he came back from the army, he had this group out called the Beatles. They tried to steal his fame. They tried to steal his spotlight. He did an hour-long documentary, an hour-long performance with this long black leather jacket on, and he'd shake his legs around, and the people loved him like they did before. There was nothing that Elvis Presley can do that the people did not love. In spite of all the different performing artists that rised up against him, Elvis still kept his spotlight of fame. And even in his final stages of life and his death, he was and is still an icon. Of course, with him being so famous, everyone wanted a piece of him. If he wasn't in the recording studio, he was on a movie set. If he wasn't on a movie set, he'd be on stage. And if he wasn't on stage, he'd be writing some autographs. And his schedule was so demanding that he went to drugs to keep him going. And the drugs made him irritable, it made him angry, and actually made him gain weight. And he got so bad and so evil and so mean that he divorced his wife. And after that, it just all went downhill. He started having health problems, started gaining weight. People started having a hard time keeping up with Elvis. But he kept on performing. As a matter of fact, his final performance was here in Indianapolis, Indiana. And after he performed, he went back to Memphis, getting ready for another tour. And sadly to say, in August of 1977, he died of a heart attack. But years afterwards, here we are in the year of 2014, and people still remember him. Beyonce, the queen herself, says, when you think of Vegas, you think of Elvis. Now, ladies and gentlemen, whether we like to believe it or not, Elvis Presley was important to American history, and especially in music. He was one of which never let anyone let him down. His early life shaped him and molded his music and love for the stage and his love for God. He, after much of music education, he rose up to fame. And finally, even his life and his death couldn't keep him away from the love of his fans. Elvis Presley was one of the most important performing artists of his time. There's Elvis when he got a little bit older, and give me one more. We love to celebrate Elvis Presley. As he would say, Elvis has left the building. Thank you.